Hey everyone, again, 2016 Volkswagen Passat, adding some more stuff to it. Today we're going to be doing the CTS Turbo Downpipe, which is catted. It currently has an entire stock system from the turbo all the way back. If you had checked out the other video, which is going to be right up top here, it is for the InGen cold air intake right up to the turbo. And now we're going from the turbo back just to the resonator. We're not going to change the resonator or the exhaust or the muffler on there. We're going to keep that the same. I don't want a heavy ricer type sound. What I'm looking for is a little bit deeper throat. Not to mention I want to clear up some of that catalytic converter choke down right out of the turbo and then also into another catalytic converter. So the Volkswagen Passat has two that it has on there, and the one that I bought with the CTS Turbo has one. Now I bought this piece at moddedeuros.com. Again, I've mentioned before, incredible company, great communication, great pricing, great shipping times. Everything got to me in very quick times, and the packaging is excellent. Obviously they're sending the factory packaging of the product that they're selling. However, it hasn't been modified, hasn't done anything like that. Not to mention they sell quality parts. Be sure to check them out at moddedeuros.com. But again, you may notice that the backdrop is a little bit different today. I'm at my dad's garage. He has a lift, which is going to make this job incredibly easy because I'll be able to get up underneath the vehicle. Now, it's not saying that if you don't have a lift that you can't do this job, because that's incorrect. It will just make it easier because now I'm going to be able to change the way I leverage and stand and get underneath that vehicle. Otherwise, everything is going to be done from my back. If I had the car jacked up and put under jack stands, it's still doable, just a lot harder. And I want to be able to make sure that I make a quality video for you guys to be able to see all the steps necessary for this. It's still a pretty easy job, okay? We're not doing anything incredibly where you need a lot of extra tools. You're going to be needing welder or anything like that. It's just a matter of taking off the V-clamp from the turbo, the downpipe. We're going to take off the bracing underneath the frame of the vehicle, unibody, underneath the section of the body where it's held together, and also the mount for the downpipe, which is a rubber mount. We'll still utilize that because that is going to be the factory part that we're going to maintain. Everything else in that kit that CTS Turbo sells, or moddedeuros.com sells also, is included. So you don't need anything. And one thing to note too is the parts from CTS Turbo are excellent. The welds are incredible. The piping is amazing. Everything looks quality, okay? I know you can purchase these things a little bit cheaper through eBay, but that's exactly what you're going to be getting, is cheaper parts. You have the opportunity for exhaust leaks because they don't line up exactly correct when you put them together. The clamps can come undone and it could turn into something that creates a rattle and then it just makes it worse, okay? Spend the extra money, get quality parts. That way your car is going to be running good. You don't have to worry about rattles. You're not driving a piece of crap, okay? You got yourself a nice vehicle. Take care of it. Buy the good parts, okay? And you will be so much happier as you're driving down the road and listening to the sound of it, okay? So here we go. We're getting ready to do the install on this 2016 Volkswagen Passat, a 1.8 turbo. This also fits onto Jettas, and I'll pull up a list. I'll have a list actually down in the comments down below of what all will fit onto the vehicle with this part number. Okay, so here we go. Okay, for these parts, this is going to be the section that comes directly out of the turbo. It has a V-band connector that attaches to the turbo and also the downpipe right here, which will actually cinch it together. The more you tighten it, the more it will tighten up as a cinch. come down to the flex tube and the rubber mount that is already installed in the vehicle. We're going to utilize the factory mount. And as that comes out from the engine bay area down to the under portion of the vehicle, that's when we'll step into the catalytic converter, the extension tube, and also the reducer hooking up to the stock exhaust. All right, so let's take a look underneath the vehicle. As we come under here, you can see this is going to be the bracket that is maintained. This is the factory vibration mount. And up under here, you can see the turbo, and you can see that clamp. That's called a V-clamp. And we're going to remove that. We're going to retain that clamp. However, the downpipe that's attached to, you see the flex pipe there off to the left, that whole section is going to be coming down. And we're going to be removing it. We'll take this brace out. We'll maintain this brace. We're just going to remove it to make it a little bit easier to remove this pipe. So now at the front of the vehicle, to the right of your screen, you could see the cat in the center, the frame mount, and the clamp here. We're going to remove this clamp. This is where the reducer is going to go on, because we're going to be maintaining the factory exhaust. Comes back to the resonator here, continues on to the factory muffler. So you can see that nothing is modified underneath this vehicle right now. It's currently all stock, all the way up to the turbo. So here we're going to use a 13 millimeter to remove We're going to save these. So up there, you can see I have a ratchet set into the V-band. That's an 8 millimeter socket. You don't necessarily need a ratchet, it's just going to make it a lot easier. So you can see the bolt has been removed from the V-band and it's spread apart. Now I'm just going to stick my hand up in there and kind of pry it a little bit more to move it off to where it allows both units to separate from each other. So you can see the catalytic converter has been separated from the turbo itself, the V-band still sitting on the catalytic converter. When I put my hand up there, it moved itself right off of there. This was very simple to do. It seems like it's going to be a lot more work than it actually is. Now we'll go ahead and remove the compression clip here, which marry the two pipes together. This is a 13 millimeter nut up on top. There's two of them. We're going to remove that. Once we slide that out of the way, then we will remove the unibody frame bracket here. So here we're going to remove the 13 millimeter nuts that hold the clamp on. I'm going to be using a deep socket with a flexible head ratchet. It's going to make it a lot easier to get up into the well inside of here. Here I'm going to remove the O2 sensor. I'm just going to remove it from here. Some people will have you remove it from the firewall. I'm just going to make it easy for myself since I'm under a lift, and take it off from right here. Now we're going to remove the 13 millimeter bolts for the bracket across here. Keep in mind, when you pull this down, the exhaust is going to want to come down with it. So 2 people would be great. However, I'm going to do this alone just to show you that it's doable. Since I have the downpipe and catalytic converter removed. I'm just gonna go ahead and show you up inside what it looks like. So this is the back side of the engine. You can see the turbo there. You could see the downpipe, or the the cold air intake that was installed. And this is where the V-band gets it connected to, on the back side of the turbo. So this is the stock downpipe catalytic converter combination, along with the mounting bracket, versus the CTS Turbo downpipe. You can tell just right off the bat, it gets choked up into the catalytic converter cell right here, versus the CTS full 3-inch open downpipe. They both go into the flex tube. You can see inside that flex tube, it actually gets smaller in diameter in there. So we do have a smaller diameter all the way through versus the 3-inch up here. This diameter actually gets larger than the 3-inch. So it's not getting pulled through here, restricted down, and then continued on. It's full 3 inches minimum all the way through and into the catalytic converter. Now you notice that the catalytic converter is much smaller. The O2 sensor is further down the line. If you don't have a stage 2 tuner on your vehicle, most likely you're going to get a check engine light. However, there's ways around that by adding a O2 sensor spacer. There are 3 parts to the, actually 4 parts. The part that mounts in, the angle, and there's 2 extensions. Now it's going to be a hit or miss. I'm going to start off with just this first section right here and put my O2 sensor right on the backside. Hopefully that doesn't throw a check engine light. However, if it does, we'll still be able to get to it and add more on there. Obviously the air-fuel ratio is going to be a little bit different than what the stock is, and that's what could cause that check engine light. And we come down, and then it goes into the reducer here. Now, if you have a modified exhaust from cat back, chances are you won't need this because you'll probably already be around a 3-inch. Make sure before you go removing all your pipes that the diameter that you have here, the exterior diameter, matches up to the exterior diameter on your exhaust that you have. Because if it doesn't, you may run into issues when you try to put a clamp on there if they're just slightly off. So we're going to have to remove the bracket here, the vibration mount, and reinstall it onto our CTS downpipe. Not sure how hard this is going to be, so we're going to work through this together. I did spray some WD-40 right into here and also onto the front side. Hopefully that will make it a little bit easier, and we'll just see how this comes apart. Pretty easy. Thought it was gonna be way harder than that. Much easier than I thought. So keep an eye on the direction it was mounted. The taper is going to be your top side. So we make sure when we put it onto the new pipe that it's going to be the same way. And pretty simple. So let's look at what we have here. This is the surface that is going to mount or marry to the turbo. It has an indentation right here. And if you noticed on the turbo earlier that I showed, I'll pop a picture up in the corner, you'll see that there's a little white flange that hangs out, and that's going to rest right inside of here. So when you go to set the pipe and set it to the turbo, it will rest right inside of there. Now, I would recommend that you have your V clamp ready to go. And when you get that up inside of there, that is going to just tighten down. And let me show you the difference here. With a V-clamp, it's actually shaped in a V motion. So what that means is the tighter you get it, the tighter it's pulling things together, okay? Because the taper inward, it's actually pulling the two parts, the turbo and the downpipe together. Now the turbo has a larger lip on there. If you're looking at this and saying there's no way that two of those together are going to equal this, no. The turbo itself has a wider lip, which in turn, when you put those two together, are more than the interior width of the V-clamp here, okay? So make sure that you have this ready to go when you get it up inside of the vehicle. And again, an 8mm Allen will take care of that, and we'll go ahead and get that up in there right now. So I'm going to show you without mounting and without having the C-clamp on there. It's really difficult, first off, to get a camera to mount up into this area to show you the entire procedure. So I'm going to just walk you through holding the camera and the downpipe to come up on inside of here. So you can see it's going to come up into here, and it will, sorry for the shaky camera, it will set right there, and it basically marries itself right into there. Now you can see that the gap has gone away. Right there is where the C-clamp or the V-clamp is going to go. Now you can see that I moved the Allen head to where it's more accessible for me underneath the vehicle. Before it was facing towards the top, which really from the top I'd never be able to get to it, nor would I even want to. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it pointed this direction, tighten it up, and then we'll go ahead and mount the vibration mount to the vehicle, and we'll be done under this section right here. Here we're going to use our 13mm bolts that we originally removed, and we're going to put them back in. You always want to start off by putting them in with your hand or twisting them with a socket, not actually driving them straight in from the get-go. Once you have them threaded a couple in there, and that is the first portion of the CTS Turbo downpipe mounted on a 1.8 turbo. So now I got all the pieces fitted and set where I would like them to be. I want to make sure that they have equal cover because, like I said, each piece can slide, and you had about 2 inches of space usable right there. So I just separated all of that out amongst all the pipes. Just by sitting here, you can see that it's not flexing. If you had it not enough coverage right here, it would want to flex right here in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these 3 up. I've already tightened up the factory clamp here. These that come with the CTS, the nuts there are going to be a 12mm. So we'll go ahead and tighten those up, and we'll move on to the next step, which is going to be the O2 sensor. O2 plug, we're going to remove that and put in our right angle spacer. Hopefully we can trick the computer to saying that everything is fine and dandy and we won't get a check engine light. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to remove this. We're going to put a little anti-seize on the threads here. That's always good to do when you're doing on heated areas. We will also add it back onto the stock O2 sensor. Since I left the O2 plug plugged into the vehicle, the problem would be if I was to screw this in, it tends to load up the wire in a twisted motion. So what I'll do is I'll reverse that twist prior to the installation to where when I screw it in, I'm screwing that twist out of it. And then it's just standard plug. It's not twisted, it's not tension on the wires or anything. And again, this is going to be 22 millimeter for the O2 sensor. And just snug it up. I already have the anti-seize on there, so you can see it. Last part is going to be installing the bracket here. We'll get those 4 13 millimeter bolts installed, and then we'll be done. So there it is, the full installation 3-inch pipe from Turbo to the start of the resonator, the factory resonator, and I also have the factory muffler installed. So nothing special, just this 3-inch downpipe. Have the O2 sensor hooked up, catalytic converter, the vibration mount, and all the way up into the V-clamp. We'll go ahead and start her up here in just a few minutes and let you have an audio bite. Super simple install. Without the video editing time, this probably would have been less than a half an hour. Obviously, this is with a lift. If you have to jack your vehicle up, you're probably going to be looking in the neighborhood of an hour to an hour and a half. So I've driven probably about 20 miles so far on the new 3-inch downpipe from CTS Turbo. And I'll tell you what, it is an incredible difference with the horsepower through and through. At higher speeds, just being able to accelerate and notice the difference in the acceleration. I don't notice a deep grumble inside the vehicle, which is nice because I like to still have a conversation with passengers or on the phone. You know, I like I said, I don't want that real loud ricer sound for my vehicle. I want the performance without the actual sound of it. And this downpipe has done a great job. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Give me a like, give me some comments, something that I did good, bad, indifferent. Would love to hear from you. And then if you like the channel, subscribe. I got plenty of videos and you can check them out. They'll show up on the screen here at the end. All right. Hey, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate you guys. And I enjoy doing this, really. Hopefully it helps other people out. All right. Take it easy.